Welcome to FraudExpose. My name is Laurie Maddock, and today I'm going to be speaking with two cyber fraud experts. Jared, why don't you introduce yourself first?
Hi, I'm Jared Zarmbinski. I'm a fraud and financial crimes investigator at USAA.
Okay, and Win.
Hi, my name is Win Win. I'm a founder of Cyber Armor, where we focus in the dark web.
Okay, well, for our listeners, if you want to avoid fraud or know what to do if you've been a victim, stay with us. We don't want you to get ripped off. Today, we're going to cover the like Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, the online payments. And a lot of those companies are in trouble and lawsuits because of the fraud, with banks. People are losing lots of money, and so now it's going to become a battle. So I'm going to start, Jared. How do scammers use victims of the online money apps? What is it that they actually do?
So there can be a variety of different ways that these third-party payment apps, such as Cash App, Venmo, and so forth, MoonPay, there's all kinds of different ones. But there's lots of different contexts, lots of different scam types that'll utilize these. It's really just a method of transferring funds. Now, fraudsters typically use this as kind of a two-layered approach. One, it's whatever the victim is using, because they don't always use the same one, so they usually try to figure out which payment app that the victim is most comfortable already using. It's been common for them to use it. They already use it commonly with their friends. They don't think twice about it. They have it all set up already. They
Yeah.
just shoot stuff off as needed. And then second off, it's also a way for them to launder the money. It's a way for them to obfuscate the true original source of the funds. And part of what provides that kind of cover is also in part how Cash App only relies on like a username that can be completely made up and fabricated. It doesn't have to be a real name.
Right.
There's not like a lot of concrete identity verification that goes into the actual handle of the Cash App name. So that's primarily the utilization from fraudsters. And there's a lot of scam types. I mean, really, it can cover any type of scam type. They may ask you to deposit some checks that they mailed you. They may deposit the checks for you after you provide access. Whether you were coerced or not into providing that is irrelevant. Once they provide some sort of check or monetary instrument that you deposit, then they'll ask you to Cash App it or Venmo it or PayPal transfer, international transfer it to various addresses. And usually it'll be to multiple different addresses. They usually have a network of people and hey, these are all my buddies. I need you to send this much and you can keep the rest, and that's fine. And that's kind of the gist of it.
I gotcha. Anything to add on that, Win?
Yeah, I can explain one of the process of phishing attack and how hacker. So for the phishing attacks, they would send you the fish page where you provide them the information, your username and password of your bank account. So what the hacker does is they log into your bank account and they check to see what option available to send money out, whether it's ACH or most of the time now it's Zelle. And they would using the Zelle option as the quickest, like Joe mentioned, is use Zelle to send money to another account, the mail account of their personal account, where they can take that money out. So that's one of the attack method that the hacker would use.
Okay, so as far as red flags, okay, so I'm a consumer. What am I looking out for? I'm looking out for companies that ask me for my username and password, right? Those are things you really should never give up to anybody, correct? Never give your username and
Never.
password, because once you do that, they now have access to it. What can consumers do to prevent this type of thing?
Yeah, well, definitely not providing that information, as you said, username, password information. Try to only send money to people you know. I mean, there's times, when you're buying something from a stranger or, it's business related and it might be a new customer, client, or vendor, or whatever the case may be, where you can't do that, but you try to verify that information as much as possible. Try to do your background check, on who you're
Right.
sending money to, see if it really is a real person, if they have any kind of online presence, if it's a business, that sort of thing. Also, just being aware of how instantaneous these transfers are. Like when mentioned, Zelle is probably the quickest. A lot of these third-party payment, apps are very fast, and it's essentially ACH or via credit or debit card, digital transfer, a P2P, person-to-person transfer that takes place. And so it is really fast. It's really hard to claw back. Definitely also, confirming instructions or amounts over the phone is always good. Making sure that you're speaking to the person that and it's not a spoofed email or a phone number, as much as you can verify that. And just, taking notice of any kind of sense of urgency that the person's placing on you, like, hey, I need this now, or have you sent it yet? And you just kind of want to be aware of any kind of general red flags with any kind of fishy business situation or transaction. Is the person pushy? Are they a little too pushy? Is this not something that I've actually seen in person? They're just showing me photos that could have been something pulled from the internet, that's completely
Right.
made up. I mean, there's lots of different situations that can take place. So just kind of being aware of that and trying to take your time and just be really slow and methodical with how you analyze the situation is key.
Well, here, I mean, I think like the Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, those three, or they're used more like person to person, whereas PayPal, like for example, I have an eBay account, so I have a PayPal, but I set things up to bill to my credit card. Because with my credit card, I have some security. If there's, fraud, I can go back to them and say, hey, I think there's something wrong. But with these other cash apps, I don't think you can do that, right? Because the money is transferred. It's like an auto debit from your bank account. It's taking actual money out of your real bank account, and it's not using any type of credit.
Yeah,
So
I think
when,
that's a
let me
good
ask, yeah,
I think that's a
go
good
ahead.
rule of thumb, as far as your use of credit cards as opposed to debit cards. In certain situations where you feel more risky like that and you do have credit cards, you do have that option. I think that is a good idea to do that, because of the liability factor. At least you still have the cash versus the credit that can be reversed and
Right.
offset by the banks.
I always do a credit card because as a credit consultant, people, they have excuse me, they have debit cards. I haven't used a debit card in like, I don't even know, 15 years, because I'm so scared that, if you're using it as cash, that money is gone. Even if you think it's a legitimate company, now you have to battle to get your cash back. So the credit card is safer. But let me finish the last question for Win. That IC3 Gov form is great, but what else can they do if they've been defrauded?
Report it to the banks, so they can start the investigation, right? But the number one thing is just make sure who you send money to. Understand that the risk once you send it
Sorry.
to people you don't know, you might lose it. So just be very careful with that. As for the to be improved, for your account is to enable two-factor authentication, just to secure the app as much as you can.
Sorry about my coughing fit. Well, I think you've given some great answers today, so I want to thank our listening audience for joining us, and we'll be back soon on Fraud Expose.
Thank you.
Thanks.